Welcome back to another video where we talk about data you could have missed during processing or review. It's probably going to be a last video in the series, but it may not be. So, to catch you up what happened before. I posted a video talking about what's called data you could be missing during processing or review, where I talked about like if you have a Word document with a screenshot embedded into it, well, the document will get flagged as extracted text extracted, but the information on a screenshot may not be OCR'd. And if that screenshot were to be saved as a separate JPEG, it would have been OCR'd and that text would be searchable. However, it's not in the case of a Word document. And then we talk about different ways of loading text messages into your review environment. You could load it as a cross-reference file or using processing engine, and you get way more metadata for searching and extracted text if you use a processing engine. So after that, I got a comment by Rick from ESI Analyst saying, "Hey, Nikolai, you're missing one more type of data. You're missing user-generated activity." And so what I did is I contacted Rick and I said, let's talk about it. What is user-generated activity? And that was the second video in the series where me and actually Charlie from ESI Analyst had a nice conversation where we talked about how your computers and your phones collect information about what you do, such as GPS coordinates, when you put a thumb drive in and out, copy files, and so on. And we talked about how that information could be extracted, preserved, and used in your case. However, one of the concerns I had is how do you take that additional metadata information and bring it to sort of a traditional fielded database, right? You would make lots of extra columns for different activity. Would you just dump it all in one? And what we decided to do is do a quick demo of how ESI Analyst handles it. And the way Charlie explained, it all happens in a timeline view. So you don't try to use a million fields to represent that data. What you do is you create a timeline and then you plot your events on that timeline as they happened. GPS location at certain location, maybe a file being copied, then text message sent, and then maybe something else happening. So what I did is I talked to Rick from ESI Analyst to record a quick demo of what that actually looks like. So let's check that out now.
So to illustrate how we are leveraging computer activity in ESI Analyst, we will look at actually all of the data points that are available in a timeline. So we're going to fast forward to the end of an investigation or review and look at the timeline itself. Now what we see here, we have communication data, we have that computer activity, as well as geolocation data. So we're going to start at the top and look at a conversation where someone is asking to bring client sheets. Okay, we'll go over this thread here in a moment, but we're going to, for context, put together where this is happening. And this is available data through Google Takeout. So easily downloaded and loaded into the system, and we can see that he's actually in Big Sky, Montana on vacation. Not home office, not in the office, but in fact on vacation. So we'll go to the next item here, and he's talking about accessing his Google Drive to download them, and that he's doing that remotely. Now we can also see why. So there's better context because we're leveraging those geolocation points. But now let's look at the full thread. We see here that he's talking to this person, Jordan. They're talking about meeting up at Bucks T4 Lodge to finalize some details. And then he's also saying bring client sheets to go over top prospects. Now this is coming from Jordan to Jesse. And then we see that where he's talking about accessing his Google Drive. But now we see a gap in time from 10:54 to 12:22 where he says, I got them. I also grabbed my business plan. So we see that there's activity around it, and he's saying that he has this information and they're looking forward to their meeting. So let's look at all of these computer activities stacked up together in this timeline. We're first going to look at the fact that he put a thumb drive into his laptop, and that was saved on his computer. So this is saved from the forensic collection on his laptop, as is the URL being accessed to go to his Google Drive. Then we see him log in to Google, and we can see this is registered an IP address near Bozeman, Montana. We now see that he grabbed that Acme Anvil's client list, copied out that file. We can also note the dates and other metadata, and as advertised, grabbed his business plan as well. So we know that these activities happened, and next we're going to see him logging out and removing the drive and sending that text he got them and grabbed his business plan. So this is all stacking up in a nice story that can easily be told by the data itself on in our timeline and using all of those data points. We now fast forward to 2/6, where they're supposed to meet up at Buck's T4 Lodge. So we can look at that conversation. And we see, I'm here, meet at the bar or reception. He also says, I'm already here, wasn't sure about road conditions. So now we can look at specifically that item, geolocation, and verify that indeed they were at Buck's T4 Lodge. So that could be also a very key element as part of the story. If you're getting ready for a deposition or this is trial exhibits, this is a great way to, again, map out this timeline. Now we fast forward about a week to 2/4/2020. Now let's see where Jesse was on this date. We see, yep, he was back at home in Seattle, working from home, and we're now going to start noting some of these conversations. So this is the end of my timeline, so I know this is probably tidying up something important. And sure enough, someone's asking to send his business card. So let's look at this full conversation. And it says, send me your business card, I'll forward to him. You know, I've CC'd you in an email. Hope you get this deal. Now this is, we can see him violating his non-compete as well. So really, when you stack all of these together, we see that he planned to violate his non-compete, stole company information, and is now actively pursuing business not long after his departure from the company.
All right, so I hope you like this. I think it's pretty cool how the data can be visualized in a timeline view as opposed to your standard rows and columns view. I think it certainly makes it easier to understand the timeline of events as they happen. So the other thing I want to address, this is not a sponsored video. Like, I know I talked about ESI Analyst a lot. They did not pay me to make this video or feature them on this channel. We are working together on some other projects already, and this is why I am talking about ESI Analyst specifically. So one of the solutions we've built together is, after you put your data into ESI Analyst, and let's say you want to take your text messages and produce them from relativity. Well, you can export data from ESI Analyst, process through one of my tools called Message Crawler, and convert it into an RSMF, which is a relativity short message file format, and then load that into relativity and then image it for production. So that solution makes it easier to work with text messages. So you review them in an ESI Analyst, you analyze them, you put them on a timeline, and then when you need to produce them together with other eDocs or emails, you create an export, convert it through Message Crawler, load to relativity, image, produce, and then all your data is now uniform and ready for production. So this is for you guys to know. This is the project we've been working on together. Anyway, whether this last video in the series or not, I don't know. If you have any comments, questions, please put them below. And if there are more information to follow up on this, well, we'll make another video. All right, see you guys later.